Alright, this is the dollar and the euro and the yen. So, it's important to just review your markets. Really, this is why indicators fail, because indicators cannot compensate for the fact that you are watching a market and have been watching it for days, weeks, months, and in some cases people have been watching the same markets for years. Indicators cannot process all of that information. For example, you see over here there's a clean breakout right here. Indicators can't process the fact that there was a sign of strength, and there was a pullback, and there was a retest, and then it came to a resistance area in the background, and then it broke about over resistance, and it did have follow through, and there was a base here and a base in the background, and the left side equals the right side. There is no indicator that can do that. MACD, all it's going to do is going to give you two lines crossing. So that there's no indicator that can process all of this information and all of what has happened. So, all it can do, it can, take a condition, but it can't process all of the information that, there is a base, it was in a downtrend, it broke a trend line, it had a sign of strength that made a higher high, it pulled back, it had a test, it had a retest, and then it broke out, and it can't do all that. So this is why, one of the reasons why indicators are, they have a place, and this is something really important to understand, because I spent a lot of time developing different indicators. And so when I say this, it's not out of just because Wyckoff said it. It's because I have first-hand experience coding a lot of different indicators and understanding. There are ways, but there's nothing that can compensate for experience. Zilch, nothing. Because alright, so anyway, this is the dollar up here. So the dollar, it had this breakout, and it's really important. Now, one of the things Wyckoff says is, one of the things he says is you don't really need to use fundamental news reports, etc. Well, the reason is because price action will have all of that already included in it, meaning the cumulative effect of all of that news will be the price. It's similar to, I think it was the efficient market theory, or one of those theories that says that whenever information comes out, it's already priced in. Well, similarly, Wyckoff did say that the cumulative effect of all of that knowledge is people acting on it, and it will be reflected in price. However, note that knowing the fundamentals and knowing the method, in my opinion, there is an edge there. Simply because it may give you a reason, or it may give you an urge to trade it when you see that, you see a breakout and then you see why it occurred. It makes sense. You know what I mean? You see a breakout occur, and then you see why it occurred. It's going to help you. I don't think it's going to hurt you. I think it's going to help. That's just an opinion. You don't need to do that. You can use all the technical tools, but most professionals in markets have somewhat of an understanding of the fundamentals, and large money. Anyway, so you have the dollar index. It pulled back here once. It had a spring. It had a test. And it had a big volume breakout. So taking a look at look over here, you have the biggest volume in 35 bars. Okay, this bar here that was a breakout was no normal breakout. It was legitimate. It was the biggest bar in 35 bars. Okay, and prior to that, they were also buying. This was the early warning, when price had 10, the highest volume in 10 bars. So let's take a look at where that is. This right here was the highest volume in 10 bars. And then this right here is the breakout. And guess what? It had follow through with good volume as well. But that's pretty high volume, this follow through, and it didn't, the close wasn't that great. So I think they're shorting, but I think it's going to come back down to test, and the buyers are going to be lined up. In my opinion, that is very likely for buyers to buy the retest. There are bullish factors. What are the bullish factors? We know that I think there's a December rate hike and 3 other rate hikes in 2018. And I have a note here that rate hike reduces inflationary pressure, which appreciates the dollar. So that's the connection between the rate hike and the appreciation of the dollar, because it reduces inflationary pressure. Rate hike reduces inflation, which appreciates the dollar. And the second thing is, I don't know why I wrote this, but ECB extends its QE program. Well, that's for the next chart. So anyway, so this is the euro, and as you can see, the euro is this thing is I don't think it's looking too bullish, because this had a breakdown. When the dollar had a breakout, euro had a breakdown, it had follow through, and it's moving sideways. This is hinging. Some people will call it a flag, a bear flag. But look at the volume break. It's the biggest volume in over 50 bars on that break. Alright, over 50 bars. That is the biggest volume, and that means that it was a valid break in my book, especially when it had follow through and now it's hanging out. So I think this market is also in a lot of trouble. I know there's some stuff online saying, oh, the Catalina thing is over, it's so on and so forth, but here what I'm seeing is, it is not good. This is a 6E, so we'll see what the reason is. Let's see. Consensus met. QE program will continue into 2018. So European ECB QE program will continue into 2018 with 30 billion euros per month of securities. Oh, and the second thing is the possibility of extending QE past the end date of September 2018, which means that cap on the September, the QE, it just keeps going on and on and on. So so this second piece is very important. Possibility of extending QE past the end of September 2018, which opens the door to continued easing. So that's a pretty big problem for this market. That's one of the reasons why it's weak. So it makes sense when you have a reason and you have the price action. You know what I mean? If you see a reason and you see a price action, it does something to you in terms of confidence, in terms of your psychology, in terms of wanting to put on the trade, in terms of understanding it. And that's why, you don't have to, but I think that it's, when things make sense, you're more likely to put on a trade. Let's just put it like that. Alright? Second is alright. So let's take a look at the yen. Yen is screwed. I think it was last Sunday. They have Abe's victory, his party victory, and Bank of Japan likely to continue quantitative easing at $700 billion. So this is not in yen. This is in dollars that I'm putting this. So in yen is, I think it's more, but in dollars it's $700 billion a year, which amounts to $60 billion per month of quantitative easing. That's significant, and his party won, so the idea is like they're going to continue easing. So there's a rate hike which is appreciating the dollar, and there's continued easing on, from Bank of Japan and ECB, which is continuing to drop the euro and the yen. That's the way I see it here. Other than that, I think that's all for today. Thanks.